All right, Genesis chapter 9, let's get out of this stinky ark. Genesis 9:1. Now, I want you to take notice that virtually everything in life has changed. Noah is in his 600th year of life. The boys, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, are past 100 years old. Remember that Shem, Ham, and Japheth lived in the old world. The old world is every imagination of the thoughts of their heart was only evil continually. They lived in that life for 100 years.
So karon grabe na ang kabag-uhan sa kinabuhi ni Noah o siyang mga anak kay sinan kag si Noah 600 na kapin ang edad kang iyang mga anak ay tag 100 kapin na. Nya atong nahibawan nga ang gipuy-an nga kinabuhi nga gidak-an sa iyang mga anak kay katupang grabe kadautan nga mga gipanghimo sa mga tao nga maghinungdan nga gibaha sa Ginoo.
The old world was so full of perversion, it was difficult to function properly. It is amazing that Noah's 3 sons found 3 wives, one for each of them, and they probably were pure when they got married, I'm just guessing, and they were disease-free, and all of this was them surviving in the old world.
So katingalahan kayo nga ang katong ilang gipuy-an nga grabe kadautan nga kalibutan nakakita pag na nga asawa niya mga anak o akong gi-assume nga tingali mga buutan tong mga bayhana sa ilang pangasawa mga insakto pa tarong ubutan ga-assume lang ko pero inato ang kahimtang sa gigikanan ni sa mga anak at tulo ka buok.
Now Noah, he lived 600 years in that old world. Now he gets out of the ark, and the first thing he does is remember God. You remember God remembered Noah. Noah also remembered God.
Kaya sa bihang 600 na katuig si Noah sa dang migawas na sa arka, iyang nahinumduman ang Ginoo. Hinumduman nato nga atong miagi nga verse, ang Ginoo na hinumdum kaniya.
Now, there was probably in the old world, there was probably so much idolatry that it was hard to find a mountain that didn't have some sort of altar or perversion of a sacrifice on it. Virtually everybody worshipped idols and were involved in perversion associated with idols.
So tingali aning panahon na kay human naman ang baha, wala na kayo kay makitaan o wala na makitaan nga mga bungtod o mga bukid nga diin dunay mga altar. Kay kasagaran natong niagi nga kalibutan, grabe man ang kahiwian nga gipanghimo sa mga tao nga nagampo og mga Dios nga maghimo og mga altar sa mga kabukiran. So aning panahon na wala na makitaan.
Now, let's read for a while here in Genesis chapter 9 and verse 1. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Start multiplying. Now, think of it. There could have been as many people on the earth before the flood as there is now. Nobody knows, including me. But certain people have taken a calculator and figured out certain things, and we don't need to try it, or you don't need to really, unless you just want to, but they have figured out that it's possible that there was a population in the world similar to what we have now.
So, sa atong gibasa dito sa 9:1 nga i-multiply tingali ato pong mahibawan o daay nag-calculate atong panahon na nga atong sa daan nga kalibutan ang population parihara tingali gihapon sa ato karon.
Now, if that's true, and then the flood came and wiped them all out, it must have felt very strange to walk out of that ark and there ain't nobody.
So kung tinuto nga pariya sa ato ang kahimtang karon inana kadaghan ang tao, tingali kahibulungan o katingalahan o matingala gid tingali kang nga inigawah nimo sa arka, kamo nalay tao. No? Gibugog ka hala. Naman ni. To inana lang gibati.
We had several people come to America from the Philippines and visit us, and also Romania. And one of the things they said in those foreign countries was, "Where are all the people?" You know why they said that? Because they're used to having so many people around them, downtown, in the stores, in the shops. And it's very densely populated here as opposed to downtown Brasov, Romania.
So ang mga tao nga moadto sa Amerika, gikag Pilipinas o gikag Romania, inigabot sa Amerika, matingala gahapon ng mga tao. Kay sa Romania ug sa Pilipinas, grabe ka baga, daghang mga tao nigawas nimo kita din kag tao, katapok-tapok, ay daghan. Moadto ka sa mall, ay daghan. Sa Amerika, dili na.
And God blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Now Noah and his sons are blessed by the Lord, so are we. Hopes of a new world wherein dwelleth righteousness. That's what we have. O the old world, they took them wives. Unrighteous unions was in the world. They live now in the new world. They get a chance to do right.
So, gi-bless sa Ginoo silang Noah, apil pud ta. Iya tang gi-bless. Mao na karon bag-o naman nga kalibutan, kasagaran mo ni kahimtanga nga pwede duna na tay oportunidad nga maghimog insakto o sila katong mga ipang-multiply sa Ginoo.
Now, I'm not going to try, neither can any of us imagine how bad the old world must have been. You couldn't look anywhere, you couldn't have any conversation with anybody except Noah, his 3 sons, and their wives, and Noah's wife, and you couldn't have any kind of decent conversation or fellowship with anybody else but your family.
Lisod kayo imagine tong old world nga grabe kang ngilngig, grabe kang ngilad, grabe ka mga tampalasan, mga tao, mga batasan, mga bot, tananang maulay. Ang imong maistorya nga tarong, tingali ani, mauragid ni si Noah ug iyahang pamilya, nga naay disente, o tarong nga panag-istorya, kasagaran puro teto pamalikas ba?
In a way, that's good. It's not quite the same, but here we are in a very evil world. The Bible calls it this present evil world. We know that. Some of you go to college, some of you have been associated with the people in the world. Cecil works with people in an office. And then, listen now, you get a chance to come to church. And everybody in the church is separated, supposed to be separated from the world. It must be pleasant to come and talk with people and fellowship with them, and nobody's trying to tell you a dirty joke or get you to engage in some sort of activity, drugs or lusting or pornography. And I hope you like that and help keep it that way.
So kita karon hayahay rata o blessed rata kay sa atong miaging kalibutan gabi man kangilad. Imagine nimo puro nagyud kanan kag puwala sa ginautan gabi ito kangilad. So karon kita hayahay pata kay naa patay simbahan nga diin parehaani nga ang kada tawo mag-fellowship nga disinte o tarong ang mga gipangistoryahan. Wala kay makit andiri nga hubog, wala kay makit andiri nga uwagon nga mag-istorya og mga ngilad nga mga butang. So napalanginan pata.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Now look at the screen. The verse says, "Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion hath light with darkness?" Now guys, that's easy preaching. Because if you like to be yoked with unbelievers, you have a problem. And are you doing your part to be a righteous fellow that somebody could be yoked to? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, kind of. So, kaingon rin binat unequally yoke, ayaw gyud mo pakig paris. Kaya kaning unequally yoke mag-asawa mo gud. Ayaw gyud mo pagtigbinyo og di pariha ninyo tinuhuan. Kaya ngano maproblemahan gyud mo. O tanagan akong asawa.
That tells you when I first wrote that illustration says Robin and I have been married 22 years. Boy, we were young back then. Before we married, Robin was already faithful in church, already reading her Bible, doing public ministry. If she had not been, then she wouldn't have married me. It just wouldn't have worked. But thank God it worked. But are you, male or female, are you in the right position to have fellowship with somebody in righteousness?
Ako si Ruben na minyo 22 na katuig ang miagi. Mga bata pagkunot sila to. May gani kay si Ruben nagkuha na daan. Nagbasa ng Bible, Christian na daan, nag-street preaching na, so di nagyud lisod ug pa siya di pa siya nato naminyo mi murag di gyud tingali maayo ang among panag-uban.
Verse 2, "And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth and upon every fowl of the air, upon all that moveth upon the earth and upon all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered." Now big difference between this verse and what God gave Adam. God said, you shall have dominion over them, which means, dominion means that person or animal has to do what you say. You are the boss. They have no choice. But Adam lost that early on. And now all we get is that we have the fear in the animal concerning the human. Now, just a minute. You need to realize that, especially you girls. You need to realize that God put the fear of you in a dog or an animal. And it doesn't matter what size they are. If you take charge of that fear, you can protect yourself against a bad dog or something.
Kaning sa Genesis 9:2, diferensya kay sa kang Adam ug sa kang Noah, kay di ba sa kang Adam siya ay dominion, meaning siya mo'y boss, siya mo'y magbuot tanan. So ang tanang animal atong panahon na mutuo sa iya. Karon dinhi kay naghatag lang og kahadlok. And the fear of you, ikaw ang kita magitagag kahadlok dito sa mga animal. Nga para sa mga babae, kung mahadlok mo, ay tagaan gid mo kahadlok sa Ginoo nga mahadlok anang mga animala biskin unsa nakadaka og kagamya. Pero kung ang imong kadok imong ma-control, imong ma-protektahan ang imong kaugalingon. Kay sila na mahadok nimo kung mangisog na ka.
Now, the only time that wouldn't work is if the dog is trained to attack and given that command, or if the dog has got rabies, he's diseased, and he doesn't know what he's doing. Other than those two factors, you can control that animal at least until you can get away from it if you act this out.
So, ang example ani kay ang iro man, ang iro kono di lang na nimo makontrolar kung trained na siya. Kay sugo nagtrain nga pakom juga di man makabumahadlok. O kung ang iro dunay rabies, kay di na mahadlok, di na patok. Pero kung wala na sila, makaya niyo mo makontrol ng mga iroa, kadaghan na mag-technique karon sa ang pagdukad-dukalan nila. So, kaya niyo mo i-protektahan niyo mo kaugalingon, makaabot makasibat pa ka.
If I had unlimited time, I could tell you some very interesting bad dog stories. But I've never been bitten by a dog. And if you have something in your hand, like if you have a set of keys or anything really that's in your pocket, and you point that at the dog, and you command that dog with authority, get out of here! Sorry for the audio on there. But if you command that dog with authority, that dog will have a tendency to leave you alone, at least until you can get sufficiently away from it.
Testingin ganito yung gingon. Diba, may sama na ito nagbapakan mo dili.
Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you. Even as the green herb have I given you all things. Now, that's a change because they were vegetarians before the flood. They weren't supposed to eat meat, but now it's perfectly fine to eat meat. Now, later on, God gave a specific command to Abraham's children and seed not to eat certain meats, or Moses rather, and But here, God says right here after the flood, everything that moves is for you. The only thing you can't do is eat the blood. Look in verse 4. But flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat. So you are to drain the blood from any animal. And I've heard, I've not seen it, but in the Philippines, I've heard that it's common to eat blood and even drink blood, and that is technically against the rules. Read that verse again in verse 4. But the flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat.
So ato day sa panahon nilang Noah, itulyukan katong mga tanang animal. Wala ilalabot ang blood. So dito sa Pilipinas, kay sikat manggayta na mantay daghang manananggal, unang napil ang muinom kuno tag blood. Pero mukaon gitag dinuguan, di ba? Kami bena.
Verse 4, but flesh with, verse 5, and surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it, and at the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. So, God keeps track of that, but if an animal kills a man, they evidently have to suffer the punishment from the Lord. Now, here's the first rule, here's the first commandment concerning man living and being governed by man. Look in verse 6. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man. Now that stands all the way through. That's capital punishment for murder. And it doesn't matter what society you live in, they're supposed to adopt that rule. Whosoever sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for in the image of God made he man.
So there is a verse 6, kung mapatay ka, patayin ka. Mao na gid na daay capital punishment. Mao nay una nga gihatag nga balaod sa Ginoo. So bisag asa ka, pag normal naman gina, murag mao naman gina.
Verse 8, and God spake unto Noah and to his sons with him, saying, Behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you. Now, you should have learned by now that when God makes a covenant with you, even if you don't keep it, God keeps His part of the covenant.
So ato naging nahibaw-an hangtod karon karong mga panahon na nga kung Ginoo dunay covenant, dunay pakigsabot sa imo. Bisag dili ta makahimo sa atong parte kanang covenant kamo mang duha gasaboton mo na ibuhaton na. Ang Ginoo dili gyud mo sipyat, dili gyud mo undang sa iyahang covenant sa imo.
Now this is called the Noahic covenant. Noahic, Noahic covenant. And it's made not only with Noah, but with all of his seed and with everything on earth. God made a promise, a covenant. Here it is. Verse 10. And with every living thing that is with you, of the fowl, of the cattle, of the every beast of the earth with you, from all that go out of the ark to every beast of the earth. Is that clear? Here it is, verse 11. And I will establish my covenant with you, neither shall all flesh be cut off anymore by the waters of a flood. Neither shall there anymore be a flood to destroy the earth. So watch out, be careful. There's not going to be any flood to destroy all mankind and all animals. He didn't say he wouldn't destroy all those anymore. He said he wouldn't do it by water. Important. Because he destroys it with fire the next time.
Ang saad sa Ginoo dinhi karon atong hinumduman nga dili na gyud kahutdon og patay sa Ginoo pinaagi sa tubig. Kaya yang gisaad is kalayo na do. Kang paita na gyud maapsan ka na. Init na gyud na. So mao nang di na ta mahadlok og baha og naibaha-baha pero gagmay ray pamatyon na mga kuan-kuan na mga syudad-syudad, di ba? Among gapon. Pudi kita tanan tibok tao patyon sa baha na sa tubig.
Now look in 2 Peter. In chapter 3, 2 Peter 3:10. 2 Peter 3:10, you need this cross-reference. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works there that are therein shall be burned up. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of God, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. So everything will be destroyed again, but by fire.
So dire sa atong gibasa, ang tanan hutdon sa Ginoo og patay, pwede na lagi pinaagi sa tubig, kung dili sa kalayo. Sunugon na dahi tani tanan do. Kung di gyud ka mapil sa rapture, apil gyud ka ni.
Now this is a covenant of the Lord, the Noahic covenant. I'm sure it'll be on the test. What did God promise in the Noahic covenant? Something to that effect.
Apil ni sa test kaning Noahic covenant kung unsay gi saad, unsay covenant sa Ginoo kang Noah.
Now verse 12, and God said, this is a token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. Forever, in other words. So he's going to give a token, something that you can see that will remind you of the covenant, the promise that God made. Also, something that will remind God that he made a promise to every living creature, that he would not destroy them by fire, by water ever again, but by fire this time.
Mani sa sa Ginoo lagi Itong usbon, dili na lagi tubig kung dili kalayo na gid.
And verse 13, I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. And it shall come to pass, when I, the Lord, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And the waters shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. And God said to Noah, this is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth. Test question, I'm sure. What is the token of God's covenant between Noah and God?
So, apil sa exam kung unsay handumanan ni Noah ug sa Ginoo na ilahang covenant. Apil na.
Now, I told you it's an interesting thing if you look up what science has to say about the rainbow. Now, I did that, and I asked AI, science, whatever, I asked this question. I said, can a person, if they're close enough, can they walk through a rainbow? And here's what they said right here. A person cannot walk through a rainbow because it is not a physical object, but an optical phenomenon that exists relative to the observer's position. As a person moves, the rainbow moves with them, staying at a constant distance and angle, meaning you can never reach its end. You read that? Do you need to make any comment?
So, iyang gipangutana ang AI kung imo ba kunong maagian o walk through the window, rainbow. Iya ba kunong maagian? Ang tubag sa AI nga dili kuno kay di man kuno physical ang rainbow. Kung mo action kuno kag adto dito sa rainbow kay wa man kuno ito mo murag baglagyo or kuno murag bagana ra kuno murag dili daw nimo magian. Mao tubag.
Now I believe that I am a reasonably intelligent person, adult, and I'm telling you, I walked through a rainbow. So science, the Bible talks about science falsely so-called. As soon as he catches up, I'll tell you the story and we'll move on.
So, mas bright pa dahil ko sa science. Ako'y mas intelihente pa ko sa science kay ako mismo nagian I walk through the rainbow. Nagian ang rainbow.
Science says it has no physical location. It is a personal experience. You cannot walk through a natural, distant rainbow. You can walk through a local rainbow created by a hose, sprinklers, mist, as these droplets are very close to you. However, for a distant atmospheric rainbow, you will never be able to reach it. I'm telling you a story. I could call the man that was with me, I could call him tonight on the phone, and he's a Christian preacher, and he would say, that's true. I was driving down the road in my car in America. I had Bear, my former partner, as a witness. I didn't go looking for this. We're just traveling. I saw a beautiful rainbow in front of us. We enjoyed it. I reminded myself of the covenant. I was maybe 45 years old, something like that. I saw it looked like, to both of us, that the rainbow came down like right over there. It was a subdivision, housing. I said, Bear, here's an exit for going, you're going fast on the interstate. Here's an exit. I said, let's go see if we can see that. He said, okay. We took the exit, we drove down, we looked, saw the rainbow coming down. We went through a couple of roads, and we came to the end of the rainbow. We got out of the car. I didn't have a cell phone, so I couldn't take a picture. You know how much money I would give for a picture of this or a video? Not much, because I ain't got much. But I walked through the rainbow. It was a double rainbow. I got on the other side. I turned around and looked at the back side of the rainbow. And I'm standing between the rainbow and the double rainbow, which is a reflection. I walked back through the rainbow and looked for the pot of gold, but it must have been at the other end of the rainbow, because I never found that. Tell that.
Ako atong dito mi sa Amerika, ako ug si Bear nagsakay may kutse, nakakita may rainbow. Nga dool ra man kay rainbow. So iyang ginan si Bear nga atong kay nahinumdum man siya sa kabinan sa Ginoo. Nagyato nila. Pag abot na dito ang end, ang tumoy sa rainbow, iyang yung nakitaan ug iyang gilakaw ni tabok siya. Walk through. Nitanaw siya sa likod, nakita, wa pa may cellphone atong panahon na, wa ko'y video, kay kung naapa, mahal ko nung tagbayad kung matanaw mo. Pero dito iyang nakita na maagian niya yung rainbow. Ang exemption na magula na, kay kita, makakita tag rainbow, layo mungkin ng rainbow, din saan na ito pagkanto. Diba? May mapara sa iyang matimingan nga diri sa lumbyang rainbow tumoy. Kaya tuang sulayan na yung dingon.
You believe it? Okay, you can pass the class. Okay. Verse 18, and the sons of Noah that went forth out of the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth, and Ham is the father of Canaan. Why is that mentioned? For something we're about to read. These are the three sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread. So from those three couples, because Noah didn't have any children after that, from those three sons and their wives, they're your ancestors and mine, and every human being on earth today came from one of those groups, one of those men.
Si Ham, Shem, and Japheth, dito dahil pamilya mo kahigwapon nila para sila atong angkunon nga dito ta naliwat. Kay sila mo'y hinungdan sa tanang tao aning kalibutan na. Nagihurot ba ito Ginoo. So, sa ila tagikan.
Now, we'll learn in chapter 10 that when they began to spread out, that these three men and their families went in three different directions. Ham went to Africa. Shem went toward China, east, and Japheth went toward America. He emigrated to America. And in the process, they started out from Ararat, and they went south to Africa, east all the way to China, and west all the way to the United States. Three different groups of human beings.
Hakat na liwat ato. Atong si ang tulo ingadto sa China, ang isa Africa, ang isa American. Sa may ang kuno na to ani. So mao toy iyang gipangadtuan ug dito nagsugod ning daghan mi kaylap ang tao sa kalibutan. So kita bilong rin sa mga kanakan nga murang daghan kitag lahi ba? Lahi tag insik, lahi tag hapon, lahi tag
Asian, probably.
oh, wala.
Every one of you came from Shem. There may have been some mixture there with Japheth, and in some cases there may have been some mixture with Ham. But basically you are Shemites. I am a Japhethite. I came from Japheth. There may have been some mix there with Shem or Ham, but I am a Japhethite because I came from Europe. My ancestors came from Central Europe. Robin is a Japhethite. I'm sorry, you can't be a Japhethite. It's a closed club. You have to be a Shemite until you get to heaven.
So,
Then you'll be a Godite.
so mo din ang mas gwapo pa ta niya kay Shemite munta.
You are now Sutek the Japhetite.
Yes, yes. Don't put that on Facebook, please. All right. Chapter 9, verse 18. And the sons of Noah that went forth out of the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth, and Ham is the father of Canaan. These are the three sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread. And Noah began to be an husbandman. Do you know what that is? If you don't, just keep reading, you'll figure it out. And he planted a vineyard, and he drank of the wine and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. Now, we're told that Noah was a preacher of righteousness. Here he is, drunken and naked. It doesn't really make sense. But I want you to notice that the whole atmosphere after the flood changed. And Noah planted a vineyard, probably like he had done for years and years and years and years and years, hundreds of years maybe. And he drank grape juice. Maybe he added some sugar because he liked sweet grape juice. But he didn't realize that the grapes were fermented. It never happened before the flood. Fermented grape juice with sugar is alcoholic beverage.
So si Noah kay nananuman unya ag-apil tog tanom og grapes ning inom. Nya ato biyang nahinumduman nga si Noah is a preacher sa righteousness. Nya karon diri sa atong nabasahan kay nahubog nya naghubo ko gyud. So dako kay diferensya.
No indication that Noah knew what was going to happen. He had made grape juice for years and years and years, and it was non-alcoholic grape juice. Now, things began to rot, and that's what fermentation is a rotting of the fruit or even vegetables. They rot. You have to throw them away after several days, unless you refrigerate them. Well, he probably didn't have a refrigerator, so he did what he'd always done, but within, say, 10 days, that turned to alcohol. And I teach and I believe that when Noah drank of the fruit of the vineyard, it was alcoholic. He got drunk and didn't actually know what happened. And the reason I don't blame Noah is because of the atmospheric change and the fact that Noah was a preacher of righteousness.
So ang hinungdan nga nung nainani si Noah kay di ba 600 years naman siya. So wala pa tong flood, mo na niyang gihimo nga mananom siya, mo inom siya mga grapes, pero kay naudto man ang dagan sa atmosphere sa kalibutan. Mao to nga ang grapes di ay marat na o madaot na. Sa unang panahon dili pa tingali ito, basig tagdugay kayo, di tingali ito mga unsa. Nabi karon gawa naman na si rep. May rep at tingali sa una. So, mao to hinungdan nga naginom siya kay laandan naman niya. Ang problema karon kay na fermented naman, mao to nga nahubog gid siya.
In verse 21, it tells what happened with Noah. Look at it, verse 21. And he drank of the wine and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. So he passed out because he's drunk, but it's accidental. Before the flood, it would have taken maybe a long time, maybe several months, maybe many months before that wine became alcoholic. But after the flood, it changed quickly. Noah didn't know what happened. He passed out and was uncovered in his tent.
So si Noah kay ning inuman lagi sa aning na wine naman within tanda yung mention gina nga within 10 days sa una tingali nga wala pa flood pasig mga pila pa to kabulan ay mahimong wine ang mga grapes. So karon kay dali naman kayo di pag inom niya nahubog siya di ang hubog kay mawala biya na sarili, di ba? So igang tingali to kay basig init, di ba? Maghubo man kana sa mahubog ka. Mo tong naghubo siya dito sa yang tent. So wala siya kabalato.
Now, I'm not going to go into detail for the next 4 verses, but I want you to figure out what may have taken place here. But Noah is innocent. He's passed out. It's going to take him quite a while, several hours, for him to get over his drunkenness. But while he was drunk and in his tent naked, verse 22, and Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his 2 brethren without. And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father, and their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. And Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son, that's Ham, had done unto him, and he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. And he said, Blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. God shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And Noah lived after the flood 350 years. All the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. Now, Noah knew what his younger son had done unto him. So something took place. Now you remember that the three sons lived 100 years in a culture where every imagination of the thoughts of their heart was only evil continually. And they lived in that for 100 years. So you can imagine, or you can think about, or you can study what took place there. But Noah it was so severe, whatever did take place, that Noah cursed Canaan, which was a yet unborn son of Ham. And he cursed his seed because God had already blessed Ham. It says he blessed Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So Noah couldn't put a curse on Ham because God had blessed him. So he cursed his son and his seed from then on. And he put them in the category of a servant. Go ahead.
Si Ham nga nakakita sa iyang papa ni Noah nga hubo, nya mao pagay iyang gipanabi og saway-saway man niya, mao to nga si ang duha ka igsoon, si Japheth ug si Shem, mao nag-cover silang papa pero wala sila nagtan-aw kay nag-backward man sa lakaw. Kuha sila ga butang dako kay habol. Silang duha ga backward nga ilang gitabunan ng papa. Nga kay nakatulog lagi to si Noah. Pag mata niya, gisultian siya nga murag naglagot nila ka siya ato nga nagkakita nga walay respeto si Ham, mao tong di man niya ma-curse si Ham kay gi-bless man sila sa Ginoo, silang tulo nga mga anak niya. So dito niya gi-curse ang wala pa na tao nga anak ni Ham nga si Canaan.
Now, a lot of Bible teachers teach that the curse that Noah put on Canaan was put on all of Ham's seed. Remember, Ham went to Africa. What color people come from Africa? Negro, black people. And these verses were used to justify the slavery of a black man. And it happened for hundreds of years in many different countries. A lot of them, two biggest ones were Great Britain and America. And just because a man is black, I don't believe that justifies you going or anybody going and stealing that man and taking him to a different country and owning him and making him a slave. But these verses are the ones that were used by people that said they knew God, and yet they justified stealing a black man from Africa and forcing him to be their slave, which I totally disagree with. And that's the end of the lesson tonight. When he finishes, we'll just be dismissed.
Ay daghan nga magwawali, mga pastor, o bisag kinsa pa nga, sulti nga kwento sa Ginoo, nga kani nga verse mo ilahang gihimo nga justification nganong ang mga mga tao nga binagikan sa Africa nga nahimong slave. So ilang gikuridas nga dili ko motoo sayop, dili ko muuyon kay pila magudputo ka tuig nga ang tanang Africans pangkuhaon, pangkawaton sa mga puti tapos imo nilang slave. Mamanay hinungdan. So naay daghang mga magwawali nga mo na justification nila kanong nahimong slave ang mga Africans.
CR10